You know, I get asked a lot, why am I so critical of Al Haymon? And I'm seen as an Al Haymon critic and a PBC critic from a lot of you out there. Even though I feel that I fairly cover PBC events, I'm ringside for a lot of them, and I fairly cover Al Haymon's fighters for the most part. But I am critical, and a lot of you ask me about that. You ask why so many in the boxing media in general are critical, why so many rival promoters and rival fighters and even network personalities are critical. And you know the typical default responses. There's no need to go into all that. We've been over all that stuff a million times, and it continues to be argued on social media, boxing chat room pages, all over the place. I wanted to give a different perspective on this whole thing. So I put together 3 graphics that I hope will shed some light on the Al Haymon subject that really hasn't been discussed in most places. This first graphic I put together shows the fighter of the year, the fight of the year, and the knockout of the year, voted by the Boxing Writers Association of America, or the BWAA, and Ring Magazine, going all the way back to the year 2000, which is pretty much the year right around the time that Al Haymon got heavily involved in boxing. So check it out. Now, my question is simple. How many Al Haymon clients are on this list? Not many. That's the short answer. You see Floyd Mayweather's name a couple of times on the Fighter of the Year side, right? But here's the thing with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd was built up by Top Rank. He was originally a Top Rank fighter. Floyd was built up by HBO before he went over to Showtime. He was with Golden Boy Promotions, not under a promotional contract, but he was working with Golden Boy Promotions when they were headed up by Dick Schaefer when he started working with Al Haymon. So he was kind of built up in a mixed bag, right? So Floyd is kind of this anomaly with Al Haymon, and he reached the pinnacle of the sport. He was the money man and all that. He's the gold standard for Al Haymon in his clients. Basically, he's the best selling feature Al Haymon has to get new fighters. But outside of Floyd, how many guys do you see here? You see Adonis Stevenson was the Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year in 2013. The Ring Magazine Fight of the Year in 2011 was between Victor Ortiz and Andre Berto. So there's a couple of clients here. But for the most part, especially over there in the Knockout of the Year section, most of what I'm seeing is Top Rank, main events, promoters from overseas. Not a lot of Al Haymon. Okay, so there's a little food for thought. Now, some of you might not like that graphic because you might say, well, what about ESPN's Fighter of the Year, Fight of the Year? What about some other boxing publications that are more international? Look those up as well. This is just something I put together real quick. You're going to see consistency. There's a little difference here and there, but you're going to see a lot of consistency between the Fighter of the Year, Fights of the Year, all that stuff, generally speaking. It's pretty universal most of the time. And the thing is, the Boxing Writers Association of America, it's an American group. They're not going to be biased against Al Haymon, who is American, and most of his fighters are American. Ring Magazine is an American-owned magazine. So any bias here, any supposed bias against Al Haymon, especially going back to the year 2000, not seeing that, guys. But let's get on to the next graphic. This next one is the year-end pound-for-pound ratings from Ring Magazine. Now, as you can see, this goes all the way back to the year 2006 up until 2013. I didn't have the data for a few years, 2014 and 2015. But look again, man, outside of Floyd Mayweather, just like I said before, Floyd is that anomaly that you're going to see here. But outside of Floyd Mayweather, what pound-for-pound fighters are with Al Haymon that are on these lists? I don't see many. Especially if you think about guys that Al Haymon signed as a prospect and built up their career. I don't see any of them here. If you go to Ring Magazine's website right now and look at their pound-for-pound ratings at present, you won't see any Al Haymon fighters at all. You do see Carl Frampton, who is a PBC fighter, but he's managed by Barry McGuigan. So there's kind of a gray area with Carl Frampton. But I don't see Keith Thurman's, Sean Porter's, Errol Spence, Deontay Wilder. I don't see those guys on the pound for pound list right now. And like I said before, going back a decade or so, you don't see many outside of Floyd Mayweather. Interesting graphics, right? You don't see a lot there with Al Haymon's clients winning awards, doing big things. You see Floyd made a lot of money, Floyd got some awards, but again, Floyd got with Al when he was already built up. He didn't take Floyd from the cradle to the grave, so to speak. Outside of Floyd, not seeing a lot. Now this third graphic, this is the one that really stands out to me. And I want you to really, really think about this when you look at it. This next graphic is the Boxing Writers Association of America Manager of the Year. Well, would you look at that? 4-time defending champ and probably going to get it again this year in 2016. Al Haymon. So what does this mean? Now, a minute ago, I talked about the BWAA, and some of you out there might be thinking, oh, they're being biased. They're just hating on Al. But there you see that the BWAA loves Al. They're not being biased against him. 4-time defending champ. Probably going to get it this year. What's real interesting is that many members of the BWAA they're beat writers for the PBC. And a lot of them write for publications whose parent company also owns networks that the PBC has contracts with right now. So talk about in-house. Funny how that works. Now think about it. The man's clients aren't winning awards, but the man himself is winning awards. What does that say? What does that say about the man versus the fighters he represents? I could go into this. I could expound on it. I certainly have my opinions, but I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to open up the conversation to you guys. What do you think this means? Again, not many fighters of the year, not many fights of the year, not many pound for pound lists of 200 fighters. But the man himself is the 4-time defending champ. What does that say to you? Why are people critical of Al Haymon? Good or bad for boxing? What do you think?